Alright guys, so this matchup is mainly a result of me pondering what would be an interesting battle for Joseph Joestar from JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, specifically his young version in Part 2. And what I came to realize was him versus Savage Opress from Star Wars actually is interesting for a few reasons. One, both are prodigies in their fields, one being a prodigy with Haman, and one being a prodigy with the Force. Two, both are willing to just throw down on sight, so it would indeed be a battle off rip. So with that in mind, I want to do this battle. I think they're both pretty close and close enough to make it very interesting. So with that being said, if you like versus battles like these, make sure to hit the like button, and if you haven't subscribed, do so if you may, so that you can watch content like this in the future. But with that being said, I'm going to go over both characters, break them down, and explain who I think wins. And with that being said, I hope you enjoy, and let's begin. Joseph Jojo Joestar is a young hooligan from the damn city, alright? This youngster is from the soon-to-be famous Joestar lineage. The next big thing after the OG Jonathan Joestar. Jonathan, in fact, is his grandfather. We first meet him and see quickly that in character he does not care at all and will style on anyone if he has to. He also is a natural phenom in the art of Haman energy use. Haman energy will be explained in a moment, but it's very important in the series and for his capabilities. Haman is the energy produced and associated with the sun in the JoJoverse. It has many versatile uses depending on the user's degree of nuance with it. JoJo proved his phenom talent was valid when he instinctively knocked out a pilot with Haman energy by simply touching him. In character, JoJo has shown the tendency to handle his business by any means necessary. This has occurred to the extent that if he thinks you are being disrespectful, he's just gonna beat you up. It became obvious early on that despite his tendency to swing on his opposition, this does not result in a drop of intelligence in place of rage. Rather, JoJo showed even prior to training that he has an extreme ability to analyze foes. This is to the point that he deduces almost all combat capabilities early on in the first few moments of his fights. This becomes confirmed to be to the point that he would know the man's move prior to them even occurring. On top of the literal precog as a result of acute awareness, we see that he is a grade A trash talker. He will say whatever he needs to say in order to upset you and lead you into making rage-induced mistakes. JoJo has a few tendencies that I would argue amplify his overall package as a fighter. JoJo will always fight no matter your status due to his insane courage. Courage amps Haman, which helps JoJo. On top of his high-tier courage and willingness to do whatever it takes to get the W, we see that young JoJo showed he is also willing to kill any and all opposition. He showed this when he whipped out a Tommy gun early on to blast his vampire haters in a crowded restaurant. We see that by chapter 4, we have solid evidence that early, non-trained JoJo, at worst, was equal to Jonathan in speed, but likely above. He dodged point-blank I-beam attacks that Jonathan semi-reacted to at the end of Part 1. This beam in Part 1 is directly compared to light speed. He also shows off his natural proficiency with Haman as he bulls on Strazo, a greedy man turned vampire that made the mistake of making JoJo an op. Against the high vampire regen of Strazo, JoJo revealed that he always has a backup plan. This plan, of course, is that he knows how to dip. Forget the pride, JoJo knows how to flee before taking the L. While initially this may come across as cowardice to his opposition, you'll see, in fact, that JoJo uses this tactic to create distance and create time to come up with perfect counters. In a fight soon after this, JoJo showed his awareness and luck is potent enough to allow him to instinctively dodge an attacker that was not even visible to him. I will be touching more on later in the video his luck, but it is a real thing for JoJo. Now, this same attacker had the training of an SS commando, so he's a highly trained field operative. Once Jojo finds out he's a Nazi, a literal Nazi, he decides to trash talk him and fight him, easily disposing of him as he was simply too good of a tactician for the commando to beat. Jojo goes on to eventually face some Pillarmen. These are highly evolved beings from ages ago that, when arise, signal potential chaos for humanity as they view themselves as gods compared to humanity. This particular one tried to absorb Jojo but failed, and he called Jojo an evolved version of a human. What stopped the absorption was Jojo's aura. His aura itself is Haman energy, and it can neg hacks like attempted absorption. At this point, even without training, his natural adaptation and evolution as a Haman user and a fighter has allowed Jojo to far surpass his first version. This version already scaled above Jonathan in physicality, who is relative to Lightspeed. Pre-training Jojo is at this point comfortably into FTL. He uses this athleticism to get to his desired spots in battle. He had to bypass a Pillarman's durability, and he did so by allowing him to eat him, then using Haman to blow him up. Jojo is no slouch in the durability department as well. He took an attack that was designed to drop Pillarmen, and all this led to was Jojo talking trash. Jojo then goes on to face off with Wamu, a prestigious Pillarman. Wamu mauled Caesar, who already tossed around Pillarman level characters before. By the way, Pillarman can casually chop apart cliff sides. Despite seeing Caesar Zappelli get mauled by this character, Jojo was confident he can bop Wamu with a new technique he made up on his own. Jojo says, "Look dog, I'm the GOAT," and reveals his new move, the Clacker Volley. These are multiple metal orbs on strings that Jojo infuses with Haman. This was directly stated to be superior to the Caesar Zappelli move I discussed earlier. This attack, that move by the way, was the one where it was a bubble attack that could beat Pillarman type characters. This attack comes from over 4 directions and attacks blind spots in your vision and defense. This leads to him tagging Wamu, a feat not seen before. He explains how his tactics even surpass Pillarman type characters because he's Jojo and he's the GOAT. Up to this point, we find out that all of this impressive scaling is actually just Jojo joking around and memeing and fights. It actually says that. It verbatim states that Jojo was playing around up until this point. Jojo stops joking to escape and negs an illusion type attack. It is in this conflict we see more power and character building for Jojo. It is stated that as long as he retains his will to fight, he retains his right to be the hero. I believe this makes sense in conjunction with his luck, as his will to fight seems to lead to lucky actions. Wamu sees that heavy injuries do not even faze Jojo, and the toughness of this human really troubles a being like him. Caesar Zappelli witnesses Jojo flee from Wamu, goad him, and lead this legendary being to his downfall despite nearly passing out from blood loss. Such a feat makes Caesar wish to train with Joe so they could both get better. We then see Zero training Jojo at this point could still produce the same energy as Caesar, which is wild given Caesar's years of advanced training ahead of Jojo. Finally, we get to see Jojo undergo training. Upon arrival, he is attacked by the master of Caesar Zappelli, a female named Lisa. He naturally counters her advanced Haman techniques, which he shouldn't be able to do. Lisa, upon quick evaluation, informs Jojo later on that she truly believes with training, he legitimately will be superior to even all of the Pillarmen. This training includes enduring the feeling of razors slicing his skin for hours. He adapted to new Haman techniques and used them by focusing through fingertips, and within that span of time, he caught up to the techniques Caesar used. This also proves with Haman, even under duress, Jojo can go for days, as he did this for over 50 hours. With the training quickly passing, Caesar was forced to admit that Jojo was a prodigy unlike any other he had met before. Jojo showed off soon after his newfound energy and his extreme control when he casually negs a knife stab with just a fingertip, while trolling and asking the person if they like mustard. In this brief training arc, Jojo sets off to prove he has indeed surpassed his senseis. He was assigned a sensei to specifically train him from Lisa. When he arrives at his sensei's place to prove he surpassed him, he sees a pillar man, Esidizi, there. Esidizi folded his master casually. This master scaled above the Caesar and Jojo that could beat a pillar man. The master got one-shotted. Esidizi then gets stared down by Jojo and admits the gaze of Jojo is now formidable, signaling a massive growth in power. He then charges Jojo, only to get stopped by Jojo's finger. Jojo then states he can't be moved by a bitch like Esidizi, and that he only steps out of the way when he's about to step in poop. This one finger then pierces the hand of Esidizi. This is when Jojo truly became a goat among hooligans for me. He casually starts saucing Esidizi, who said such power and skill growth in just 3 weeks should be impossible. Jojo then explains that he's a superior tactician to fighters with thousands of years of experience, because he's read things like the art of war and is constantly scheming on his ops, even when it seems there is no scheme to be made. This is when one of my favorite moments happens. He cuts off the arm of Esidizi using Haman technique, and then he says, "Oh, Esidizi, are you mad? Are you gonna come raging at me for evaporating your arm with Haman?" So yes, even when devastating opponents and literally blowing up and dismembering them, he talks trash. Jojo explains how he has incorporated the use of human-based magic and illusions in his warfare. He also doesn't rely on power or energy to perform said illusions. He used this to bypass the senses of Esidizi. He then kills Esidizi, using Haman Overdrive and overwhelming him with energy. With the stone mask of Vajah now in play, a device that can amp vampires to allow them to conquer Haman energy and the sun, and is an overall massive amp, Jojo is now faced with the strongest of the Pillarmen beings named Kars. Kars is bloodlusted off the jump when he meets Jojo. Jojo still says, "Yo, I don't fold." Then we see Jojo show off the 99 speed and race Kars to begin the battle for the mask. Jojo is an absolute athlete. Wamu then steps into the battle and battles Jojo as he considers Jojo worthy of a battle. Jojo evolves his Haman cutter technique to bypass durability, even the likes of a windshield. So basically he uses this to get through your shields, bypass your natural defenses, and cut you up. We see Jojo receive a further amp when his friend Caesar perishes in battle. He sensed the death and feels the will and fighting spirit of Caesar merge with him. He then says, while he will honor the honorable man Caesar was, there will be no mercy for his ops. He then styles on Wamu, negs and seals the divine sandstorm that was what killed Caesar. He also admits luck is literally a skill of his, and that luck kicks in to set up Jojo to finish Wamu. Jojo then defeats Wamu, and Wamu respects Jojo and admits Jojo was his superior as a warrior. Jojo then sees Kars had folded his master Lisa. Instead of getting scared, he tells Kars it's a wrap for him. When his breath, which helps control Haman, gets compromised, a depowered Jojo holds off Kars still. This happens in a battle of wits as Jojo wins. He states Kars might be 10,000 years old, but he needs another 10,000 to beat Jojo in strategy. Uncle Speedwagon, in a heart-wrenching moment, recalls having to witness all of the Joestar men die over the years. He breaks down when he realizes Jojo is willing to share the same fate. When he seemed to be at his end, it is stated Jojo had zero qualms about death. He was a true warrior who met the chaos of death with an ice-cold presence of mind. He truly is an unbreakable fighter. Jojo's luck, will, and instinctive reactions by his body in life or death situations allow him to defeat Ultimate Kars, who is the peak of theoretical biological evolution. Jojo went down the trash-talking goat of his era, proving humanity could indeed hang with those who viewed themselves as gods. Moving on to Savage Opress from Star Wars, specifically the Clone Wars. Savage Opress is a Zabrakian male from Dathomir, made famous during the Clone Wars era. Savage was the younger brother to former Sith apprentice and assassin Darth Maul. Opress was one of the most formidable characters during the Clone Wars era due to his physicality and raw power in the Force. He learned some under Count Dooku, but flourished under his brother Maul after finding him in the Outer Rim. Maul impressed upon Savage the importance of moving in chaos and confusion like a true Sith Lord, making Savage a juggernaut on the battlefield. Savage was made to be a physical brute by physical mystic enhancements given to him by the dark arcane ways of the Night Sisters. Night Sisters aren't Sith, but they do use dark magic force type abilities, and this indeed helped significantly amp the likes of Savage even before he underwent his missions. This enhancement, on top of his natural Zabrakian toughness, allowed Savage to endure insane, short-term Sith boot camp under Count Dooku. Dooku used Sith lightning and brutality to quickly help turn Savage into a legitimate threat to the Jedi. This included early missions like one where Savage was sent to a temple where he slaughtered Jedi and Republic members alike. There seems to be a massive disconnect in the community when it comes to the power and the skill of Savage. Most people view him as a dumb force of nature, reliant upon simply bulldozing his foes. This isn't entirely true in my opinion. Savage managed to quickly rise under Count Dooku, and learned just as fast as Maul, if not faster, and he learned faster under Maul as well. What really cut Savage short was his untimely end thanks to Sidious. Besides that, Savage was on his way to potentially maybe surpassing even Darth Maul himself. He, to me, at least showcases some skill in Shicho, the first form of lightsaber combat, which is like the basics and focuses on widespread moves to take out several foes. He also, to me, uses some Jim-So, which is a strength-based counter style. Also shows some use of Naman, which focuses on not only lightsaber combat, but incorporating other things like physical strikes and force abilities. And the 7th form, Juyo, which is used as like a raging, speed-based, aggressive style. Knowing several lightsaber forms is no joke, and to use the 7th form, you must know and have learned the 6 other forms. I think Savage has at least knowledge to some extent on all of them, and he was a natural in Juyo style type fighting. Who knows how skilled he could have ended up as a duelist, as I believe a lot of his natural skill was showcased in these events, and that he didn't get time to properly train as a duelist, but even still he was quite formidable. Savage had multiple well-known lightsaber duels in his time as a Sith brute. Savage dueled the likes of Asajj Ventress, a renowned Jedi killer, Count Dooku, former Jedi Master and esteemed lightsaber savant, Obi-Wan Kenobi, one of the most famous Jedi of his time, Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One, Plo Koon, a highly respected Jedi Master, and he even briefly held off the Lord of the Sith, Darth Sidious, who was trolling him in Maul. This easily puts Savage in a respectable class as a lightsaber duelist. Savage excelled at using his strength to leverage absurd, brutal lightsaber and physical strikes to completely wear you down. As a duo, Savage was the enforcer between himself and Darth Maul. Maul used his brother as a juggernaut of sorts to tear through enemy forces as Maul followed up with his tactics, speed, and skill. Although he never got close to his potential, Savage reached a point where Maul could even trust him to take on Jedi Masters, and Maul was able to take over the Mandalorians with the help of Savage. Savage was fast on the battlefield, only further enhanced by force augmentation. He even held a couple edges over Maul that in theory made it possible for him to beat Maul if he played his cards right. This is due to Savage being physically superior and having the advantage in raw power in the Force. Maul has easily thrown around Kenobi with the Force as well, yet Savage is his superior in raw power. Savage also was fast enough to get the drop on Jedi Masters like Plo Koon. This easily puts Savage into FTL range, as even Jedi Padawans can casually react to lasers. Savage Opress is a sadistic fighter in nature. Any disrespect and he will brutalize you. This was shown when a Jedi implied Savage was a coward for attacking the people he was attacking. This led to the Jedi getting delimbed before they could even react to the pissed off Savage. Savage also showed that if he doesn't kill you, he will take the time to torture you. He wished to do so to Plo Koon after defeating the Master by exposing his weakness, which was his mask. Their durability and toughness is a multi-layered deal with Savage Opress. Savage possesses powerful will as a result of the pain and suffering from Sith training. He also showed he can withstand pain and attacks and focus through it. This was proven when he stood up under Dooku's lightning, which can kill Jedi, and lifted several ton stones. He also can take lightsaber hits and blaster bolts due to his armor, toughness, and force augmentation. His maturity as a fighter was made obvious by the improvement in the sophistication of his style. Savage incorporates physical strikes and powerful force pushes in his style to best utilize his attributes as a fighter. Mid-swing, he can level a powerful telekinetic blast to send you flying. His rage amps his blast and augmentation, and it is best to beat him and take him out early to avoid force rage and amps. He physically strikes harder than Anakin, whose attacks, according to Dooku, were like the equivalent of taking meteor strikes. His raw force AP is above Maul's, and he can push massive ships and ragdoll Jedi alike. Overall, Savage was one of the most intimidating and game-changing characters in the Clone Wars era. Savage was massive, physically outclassing basically all of his matchups, at least in terms of strength. He was an underrated duelist, as he was smart enough to leverage his best aspects as a fighter. His dual-end lightsaber blade could serve as a 1 or 2-bladed weapon, adding to his versatility. He would wear you down and combine the Force and his physicality to break you. His headbutts even killed Jedi thanks to the spikes on his skull. Savage can ragdoll multiple tons with his TK pushes, has precog via the Force, can rage amp himself, and overall, Opress was a true threat on the battlefield as a rogue, rough, tough Sith juggernaut, and he will be remembered for his brutal nature and physical dominance. So, with all this in mind, how do I see this fight playing out? Well, in terms of physicality, I think Savage has the edge in most areas except speed. I think JoJo can keep up with him in speed just fine, especially with his natural reactions. So physicality, I do give the edge to Savage, although speed is relative. In terms of intelligence, JoJo blows him out by a mile. I mean, we saw several times he's a savant when it comes to strategy. In terms of fighting skill, it's about even. Both were prodigies. I think Savage is a lot more talented than people gave him credit for. I mean, the fact that he learned as much as he did in such a short amount of time shows how crazy he is. But then again, JoJo learned all he did in a few weeks. So both of them, to me, are relative in skill and can hold their own with each other. And it's not going to be necessarily determined by just skill alone. In terms of hacks, I think it's about even. I do think raw AP should go to Savage. I think he's more dangerous potentially with the Force, but JoJo is very smart with how he incorporates Haman in his fighting style, and I think that's what kind of balances out the hacks as well as his luck. So, with all this in mind, I believe JoJo's ability to get under characters' skins will initially piss off Savage, cause a rage-induced event in which he probably ragdolls JoJo with the Force. At this point, JoJo's going to get serious and start really picking him apart. And when they fight, I believe JoJo's going to attempt to cut him, which he can. And he might be willing to take a lightsaber strike or two. You know, even if it costs him an arm, just with his willpower and sheer determination to win, he's willing to even die to win. So obviously he'd be willing to take hits. And he would pierce or cut Savage and infuse him with Haman and blow him up, or just straight up constantly use Haman to pressure him, bypass his durability, wear him down, and eventually defeat Savage. He could easily potentially catch the blade of a lightsaber, use Haman energy transfer, and transfer the energy through the blade to the lightsaber hilt to short circuit it. That's quite possible he could pull that off. So there are a lot of bag of tricks JoJo has, and I believe with his relative speed at least, mixed with his intelligence, luck, and abilities, I believe JoJo takes this high difficulty 6 or 7 times out of 10. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. If you like videos like these, let me know in the comment section down below. Anyways, it's been your favorite villain, and I will see y'all later. Peace.